we had at the time 23% rejection, which was high. So I knew I was going to walk in a fine line with the factory because I was their smallest client. Then I kind of gave up. They said, I don't think we can make your product. We had a very tough meeting that this is something. I want to talk to the people that actually are making the product and are making this a specific process. Next production, 0.04% rejection.
Welcome to the DTC Insider podcast, where online business owners come to find actionable tips and tactics to grow their businesses. Now, here's your host, Brian Roisentul.
Hey, welcome to another episode. I'm Brian Roisentul, your host, and I'm super excited to have Paola Shah, founder and CEO of Tucketts. Hey, Paola, thanks for being on the show.
Hi, Brian. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And hola, we are both Latinos, so it's just another reason to connect with you. It's amazing to have Latino people as well here.
Yeah, I was very glad to learn that you are Argentinian. So
yeah,
I'm from Colombia.
Amazing. Two great countries. So why don't you start? Why don't you start by telling the audience more about Tucketts?
Yes, so I'm Paola Shah, founder of Tucketts, and Tucketts are these amazing grip socks. And what is special about Tucketts is that they are toeless. It holds only the big toe, and the rest of the toes are free. And of course, a very specific design that has been patented. And what is special about Tucketts, and you will ask, but why do I need toeless socks? Then, so Tucketts are made specifically for barefoot workouts or any barefoot activity. And then the feet sweat. We have 200,000 glands on our feet.
Wow.
That are, when we're working out, when we're walking, etc., even when we're nervous, they are working. And then, so sometimes when you are in a yoga mat, in a Pilates reformer, or at the gym, if you are barefoot, you feel that your feet sweat, right? And then, so the material is moisture weakened, the grippers give you extra stability, and the toes are, the fact that there are no toes, the toes are free, it allows you to keep the barefoot sensation, which is more important than what you imagine. Because there is a straight connection between our feet and our brain. So the more we allow the feet and the toes to play, the more we're allowing that communication between the feet and the brain. From your feet, we decide, or the body decides, alignment, posture.
Right.
Impacts your ankles, your knees, your hips, even your shoulders, even your brain. And we can go, I don't want to go too deep into the science of the feet, but basically, this is Tucketts.
Great. Let me ask you a question. I've been interviewing a lot of people here in the podcast, and many founders started the project or their brand, let's say, out of a necessity, like a personal need to solve a personal problem they had. But in this case, it was different, right? This brand started with a research for a friend, right?
Right. So I was living in London. I moved from London to LA, and it was like if you have thrown me in the middle of nowhere. I didn't know even one person in LA. And then this friend of my husband asked me to help her with a market research to open a Pilates studio. At the time, I didn't know even what Pilates was. So I started doing the research. And one of the things you do is you go and take classes. And then it was mandatory to wear these socks that were either the typical closed-toe socks, close to, hospital socks, and then, or the socks that have a kind of the shape of a glove for the feet that encase every single toe. And I found them very uncomfortable for me. So, and as I was observing, I just noticed that people were either kind of sleeping, the socks were not that stable for them, or they will take too long to put every single toe, and I didn't like it. So out of that market research, I had this idea of like, why to wear socks if remove the foot sensation? But then I realized the importance of the grippers. And this is how, yeah, Tucketts was
Okay.
born.
Okay. And then what happened next? Because I know that it took 3 years to go from the idea to launch. So 3 years,
Right.
right? When we listen, well, I mean, when we hear someone say, "Yeah, it took me 3 years to create this product," it's like, "Oh, great." But when you stop and think about that, it's like 3 years is a lot. So first off, I wanted to ask you, what was that process, that period like for you, personally speaking?
Yeah. So for me, it was from having the idea in the mind. And then it took me time to really have the idea in the mind to start developing a product. And then I didn't know anything about the textile industry, manufacturing, even the fitness industry. Everything was just came out of the blue by intuition, really. For me, it was simple. You're doing a barefoot workout, you need to keep that barefoot sensation. And then, so from there, I got pregnant, and then my husband told me, um, "Are you going to tell our daughter that you had an idea and you were kind of hesitating or
Wow,
afraid
did
of,
he tell you that?
afraid of
Wow.
trying?" And he's like, "Don't worry. If you fail, I'm here for you. If you succeed, I'm here for you. But just give it a try. At this moment, you are not working. You have the time." And I was like, "Sure." And then kind of that pushed me a bit to go from idea in the head and, playing with little samples to actually start sampling socks. And the process was interesting because I I just didn't know where to start. And then so I put a message in a general website where you look for people, etc. And I said, "I'm looking for someone to help me source socks and design socks." And then so of course Chinese people started contacting me. And then they sent me some samples and they were horrible. The grippers were full. I was like, oh no. So then I went to LA looking for a pattern maker. And then someone started, to guide me on how to make patterns. And all that process takes time. Eventually, I had my baby and, all those things. And, uh, and there was a moment when I was getting a lot of rejections of like, "No, we cannot make this product. No, we cannot make this product," because it was something new. No one has ever made a product like this. And then so um, someone here in the US that told me, "Sorry, we cannot make your product." So I said, "Well, okay, thank you, but do you know who can make it? Do you have any idea of who can help me?" And then he sent me a list of 3 people or 3 companies, and I contact them all. And the last one was a company based in Miami. When I called them, I heard the Spanish accent. I was like, "Oh, are you speak Spanish?" "Yeah." "Okay. Oh, are you from Colombia?" "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, I am from Colombia and I'm looking for a factory that can help me." And actually, they were the ones who basically hold my hand and then helped me to finalize the development of the product. And it has been, a learning process for both of us, but it's the same factory I've been since day one. 10 years later, we still work together.
I can only imagine. And how did you validate that like a product market fit? That there was demand for the product you were building, and that
Right.
like the audience valued that this extra work you were putting into these socks.
Yeah. So as I was developing samples and everything, I started, like I kept going to Pilates classes. And then I was like, okay, let me see what other food workouts we have. And then I discovered bar and of course yoga. And then so I took those 3 main workouts and I started to test the socks. And I will talk to the teachers or like in Pilates studio, one of the instructors is like, "Oh my God, I love your socks." And I noticed that whatever she was wearing, basically her students were wearing. And then so I asked her, "Well, can I give you a pair and can you test them?" And then she did, and since then she has never worn any other sock but Tucketts.
Wow.
And then so then I contacted a podiatrist and I said, my intuition told me that it's very important to allow the toes to spread and to be free, but I want to validate this idea and this product with you. And then she loved it. She's
That's
like,
amazing.
I'm going to recommend this to some of my clients. And then so I started to validate it with uh, Pilates yoga bar instructors, with PTs, podiatrists, and of course the end users that are mainly, people like you and me that just go and practice one of those virtual workouts.
For those in the audience who have listened to some of our episodes, I might sound like a broken record right now, but I can stress enough the importance of validating product market fit before launching. Some people create products or even source product. They don't even put any efforts in improving quality or anything like that. They set up a Shopify store and they try to sell and or spend money on ads, and then they say, "Oh, they don't work. It must be the ad, it might be the agency, it might be my marketing guy, it might be whatever." And it's that they didn't take enough time to work on the product to validate that there was enough acceptance of the product in the market. And yeah, that's what it took you 3 years. So and going beyond the storefront, what I always say is like, it's not about having the product and creating a website right off the bat. It's like going to your audience and say, "Do you like this?" No.
Yeah,
And
and usually the audience is divided in many parts, almost for every at least physical product. You have a product, you have an end consumer, but you also have an expert. And I think in order to validate, you need to go to both.
yeah,
I was contacted by someone that wanted to create special gloves, and then they were focusing so much on validating it with doctors, but they forgot the users. And then so it's like, no, like, sure, you have basically your scientific backup, that's great. You need to go to the users before launching and then do a good test, and that's really important. Yeah.
yeah, 100%. I mean, there's one interesting thing in what you said, and it's that in your case, you have those two types of consumers, but one influences the other. Like peers influence, themselves, like between each other,
Mhm.
like students, Pilates, yoga, etc. But the teacher, as you said before, students will wear what the teacher wears. It's a
Mhm.
classic in every discipline, right? So if you can get to the teachers and they like your product, it's like a trampoline to the students, right? So it's really important that they love it too, because if students love it but teachers don't love it, that's a problem. But the other way around, they can easily influence students in a good way.
Yeah, I think validation has to go in different fronts.
Exactly. So where does the inspiration to create your products come from?
Well, the inspiration really was finding a solution to keeping the barefoot sensation, right? And then when I was pregnant, I moved from LA to New York and I was doing yoga. And then it was winter, it was super cold. Um, and then I will wear regular socks at the time because my samples were it was kind of just the beginning. And then I remember trying to do yoga and sleeping on the regular socks. And it was a horrible feeling because you have this baby and you cannot just, like face the mat like that. And then I will take off the socks, but I felt that my feet were sweating and they were getting cold. And so it was such a horrible sensation that I said, okay, for the next class, I'm going to wear my sample in the way how it is, and let's see. And then what happened next? Most of the other moms or moms to be, they're like, oh my God, you have the perfect solution. I want this and also my feet swell. And I would love socks like you. And then it's like, oh, I need to keep going with this. I need to finish this product.
Yeah, and what about the colors, the themes of your products? Like I know you traveled a lot. Like how many countries? You said over 40 countries?
Yeah, around 45 countries I've been to.
Which
Yeah.
one do you like the most? Outside Colombia, let's say.
It's very hard because they are, I go for sometimes for different, there are different, and you go for different reasons. So I do is, I feel a lot of appreciation for a country where I have climbed a peak, like let's say Tanzania when I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. But I also, love a country like France where I live, and I really absorb the beauty of the country, or countries that are a bit less known, like El Salvador. But then once you get inside, you discover that it's a paradise. So it really depends. Of I don't have a
Yeah.
favorite one.
And what I think is that traveling opens your mind, and it really really does. You can get to see like many different cultures, many different ways of thinking, many different type of people, and it's you understand things when you are there, like from far away or from the outside. It's hard to understand
Mhm.
another another culture, but when you're there and you spend time there, it's like, oh, I get it, partially sometimes, but it's like, get it. And in this case, is that why you have such a colorful collection? Like, does it come from those cultures, from the Latino culture or some other countries?
Yeah, I think actually it has been influenced by two things. Growing up, I always liked colorful socks, and then I I had this thing about looking at people's socks and shoes, and I don't care about the shoe brand. For me, it's just the sock and the shoe had to go together. And then personally, for instance, I cannot stand. I don't like it, and it's a when I was very young and dating. For me, it's like I meet someone that wears a man black shoes with white socks. For me that was a no, no, no. But I always liked the colorful socks. So when I was living in London, you will see like the typical British guy in his bike with them, like the suit, and then they would have like pink tone socks or like very bright blues, or and then I was fascinated by that. And the other thing is the colors come um, because I think we need to give something joyful to our feet. Our feet is that part of the body that we don't take care of. We women, maximum, we do a pedicure, or we go just to the doctor every time that our feet is in pain, but that's it. And then the worst thing is like 8 out of 10 Americans suffer from foot issues. And that affects concentration. And of course, for those ones standing or working, on their feet, it's even worse. So I wanted to bring also something where people are proud of their feet, like that they want to take care of their feet. They're not afraid to show their feet. So you were talking about the inspiration for the collections, and yes. So for instance, today, by coincidence, we're launching our Moab collection. So this is part, for those who are watching, if you look at the details, the knitting is very special and very specific, and then it was inspired in a camping trip that I did in Moab, for instance. We When I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, then we went to do a safari, and I after that I launched a collection called the First Collection that was all inspired by the patterns of wild animals. When I went and to the Everest Base Camp, we launched the Himalaya collection as well, and it's inspired by the mountains, river, the peaks. So it's also a way for me to um, teach people as well. Like there is so much to see in this world. And if you cannot go, I hope like there is curiosity in the name of the song. And you can Google and say, hey, what is this? What is this place?
I
And
agree.
yeah,
And one more thing I wanted to ask you about these two things actually. You from going to the idea to launching the product, there were two more things I guess you did. One, patenting the product or manufacturing the product first and patenting the product next. So I quickly wanted to ask you about those two phases. So first about manufacturing, like I know you faced some challenges with the factory standards early on. So you quickly mentioned that you went with this Colombian factory. Is that the one that you have currently, or did you change
yeah.
factory?
No, I've been working with the same factory for more than 10 years now because
Uh,
part of the development
you're
process
very
was with
very
them, and
fortunate.
we're still working.
Yeah,
I I can't say that we're very fortunate, with a bit of carefulness, because, and I'm going to explain why. I think it has been perseverance more than luck or anything else. Um, I could have given up on them, or they could have given up on my product, but I didn't allow that to happen. Once I discovered the how the factory worked in Colombia, and I backpacked in China for a month. I saw the impact of the manufacturing industry in nature, in the rivers, etc., etc. So I had a very clear idea that when I was creating Tucketts, I wanted to reduce the environmental impact. Um, like the CEO of Patagonia, Yvon Chouinard, he says, there is whatever you are doing, you're going to impact nature in a negative way. The question is, how can you reduce that impact, right? Even Patagonia impacts nature. So it's like, so that has been my motto with the company. How can I reduce the impact? So I didn't want to manufacture in China because also I knew I was not going to have really access to them, and to understand how everything works, especially being such a small company, or when when you are starting. But with this factory in Colombia, I was amazed by two things: not only the quality of the product, but also the fact that they care about water. And the textile industry pollutes so much, specifically water, that is so important that when you manufacture a textile product, you need to make sure what's happening with the water. And then so the factories actually sends back the water to the main source even cleaner than the way how they received it. And that was very important for me. And the other part is people who are making the socks. I want you, when you buy a pair of Tucketts, to have an positive impact just with your purchase, without any extra donation, just by the fact that I chose for you the right people to impact the community. So, for instance, last year I went to visit one of the satellite workshops of the factory, and they invited me for breakfast. And actually, they all start saying how chocolates have positively impacted them. Some of them, they are mainly women, 50 plus, because those are women that have a hard time finding jobs. And they said, I was able to send my kid to college. I went on vacation to see the ocean for the first time. I bought my house, I bought a car. And then all of those things is like, whoa. And then that happens only when you choose the right factory. So choosing a factory in Colombia is not only because I am from Colombia. That was a beautiful coincidence. But it's because what they do they're doing it well, and they are creating an impact that I can really survey for my clients.
I can tell. And what was the patenting process for you in the US? Could you please go through the process very quickly, like high level? If someone in the audience likes, would like to or needs to patent a product, what would they need to keep in mind? Which pitfalls should they avoid?
So regarding that legal part, and I'm going to tell you another interesting story. When I was in New York, I went to the SBA, it's called the Small Business Administration Office in New York City. And then, I got assigned like a mentor. And I went with my sample, and I, told him my whole idea, everything. And he said something to me that pushed me to move very quickly on all the legal part. And he said to me, "Hey," and he whispered, "I'm not supposed to tell you this. And please don't repeat it to anyone else here. I know you don't have a business plan," but he said, "You are so ready to launch. I'm going to tell you, figure it out along the way. Just launch right now because time is precious." And then, so I was like, oh, and then that day he's like, "There are 3 things that you need to do in order to launch, or right after you launch is, of course, you register the company, make sure you choose like the right structure, tax purposes, etc. And then after that, trademark is super important. And then patent, if you can patent your design, just go ahead and patent your design right now." So, and that advice, I think, has been one of the best advices I was given, and something that I want to repeat. So, and I'm going a bit out of the legal part, but basically, perfection is the enemy of action. I know so many people that have brilliant ideas, but they just don't act on that. And they're waiting for everything to be perfect, to have the perfect product, the perfect business plan, and you wouldn't know what's perfect until you really launch and you start getting feedback from random people that you don't know. And then trademark is so important. Like, I cannot highlight how important is to make sure you can register your name. Like, everything is going to be in order, so you don't have to change your product. I had to fight for my trademark for like 5 years.
Yeah.
And then patents, of course. So there are 2 type of patents: the design patent and utility patent. And any patent that you can get is going to just help to protect your idea, help to protect your business. And hey, why not to really confirm that you're an inventor, right? So, and the patent process is basically you need a lawyer, or you can take Sarah Blakely path, the creator of Spanx, that she wrote her patent, and then she just hired a lawyer to double check and to do the technical drawings, and then she did it. But it's a lot of work. I didn't do that. I hired an attorney, and nowadays there are so many options for patents out there that I think it's
Kind of
affordable.
amazing. Yeah, regarding having a perfect product, first off, I don't believe a perfect product exists. I believe in iteration, through learning, through feedback, through evolution of technology, whether it's fabrics or anything else. So even I interview many people here in the podcast, and one of them owns an 8-figure brand, and he recently posted on LinkedIn like 2 weeks ago at the time of this recording, and he said, "I'm, I just asked my Facebook community. He has a Facebook community with I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of people
Mhm.
to rip my products apart. 8-figure brand. People love their products. They go crazy about it. Like millions of impressions on TikTok for every single video or almost every single video. So they are very, very successful. And even they are humble enough to say, rip my products apart, criticize them. That's great feedback for me to keep iterating, So I believe that what works today doesn't work tomorrow. So if you're looking to or waiting for perfection to launch a brand, then what are you waiting for? Just launch, validate whatever you have, tell everyone you know about it, not your mom or dad. Like tell like real customers, your real avatars out there as you did. Don't try to make a sale. Just go give it away. If it doesn't cost a lot, and say, hey, whatever it costs is going to be cheaper than launching a company that doesn't have a good product anyways, right? But give a product away, validate it offline. As many companies do, some founders I met here, very successful companies as well. This one sells bags, like convertible bags for the gym, for the office, like all in one. And they went back then to Central Park and some other locations in New York, and they had a sign saying, "Ask us about our bags." And the beauty of that is that you may say, "Hey, but that doesn't scale." First off, that's great. Even Jack Ma, Alibaba's founder, said that you need to do the non-scalable stuff in the beginning before scale. But second, these things scale these days. And guess what? They recorded that on camera, and uploaded that to TikTok and many other social platforms, and it went viral as well. So even the non-scalable stuff, and you get validation offline. You could be a pop-up store, you could be whatever, right? But there's nothing like meeting customers in real life and see what they do, how they act, even if they don't tell you things, you tell by the look of their face. Like, do they, like in their case, does this bag have big pockets, small pockets? Do I don't know? Does their laptop fit in or whatever? So you can see their reactions, and of course you can get into you can engage with them in the conversation that you can't online, right?
Yeah, and now that you're talking about like a good enough product, basically, and then improving, along the way, there is something that happened to us after launching and while we were, growing and manufacturing. And it's so important to make sure your manufacturer really understands the product, especially our type of products that are like Tucketts is. They have been making socks like the factory for decades, but this was totally new. They didn't understand the product, and when I said they, in particular, the people that are making the product. And then so what happened to us is at the time we were smaller, like let's say 5,000 pairs, 10,000 pairs of socks will arrive. And the time it will arrive to my apartment in New York, we were living among boxes. And then we will check every single pair of socks to make sure everyone will get like a very high quality sock, and, no issues whatsoever. And then we start encountering issues with the sock. And then we had at the time 23% rejection, which was high. And then, so I knew I was going to walk in a fine line with the factory because I was their smallest client. And then where I manufacture like big Fortune 500 companies manufacture. So then I kind of gave up. They said, I don't think we can make your product. And I was like, well, you make correctly 77% of the product. There is 23%. I understand they're losing money here because I'm not going to pay for this product. But we need just to get the other 23%, at the level of the 77%. And then, so the managers, we had a very tough meeting. I went to Colombia, and they were at the beginning kind of, no, we're not sure, we cannot do it. And I said, okay, let's do something. I want to talk to the people that actually are making the product and are making this a specific process. And just I want to explain to what's going on. After that conversation, we run a production. And if it doesn't work, then we stop working. And then, so I did that. And I went, and at the time, it was people that even have never heard about yoga. So I said, can you wear a good sock and a bad sock for me? And I showed them how to do downward dog. And then one of their feet just move, sleep, and the other one is stay put. So the rest of the people that were watching were like, oh, now I understand why you want the sock to be this way and not that way. Oh, can I try the good and the bad? They all tried the socks. Then we went to the supervisors. Eventually, we went to the managers with exactly the same. Next production, 0.04% rejection.
Wow.
And then, so what's the lesson here? And it's a very important, I think, lesson that applies in everything in our life. There is no common sense. My common sense and your common sense are not the same because we come from different places. So it cannot be the same. And the other thing is about asking questions. Don't ever be afraid to ask questions. And then what happened is like, they were not asking the right questions. And then, so of course, they were doing exactly the same in the old pattern of traditional socks. And when I came with something completely new, they were applying that same old pattern to Tucketts, and it didn't work. So this is kind of my most successful stories, I would say, because that now, and I now still work with the same factory, and now our productions have gone, 10 times bigger, and we don't have those type of issues anymore.
This is great. I love this story because it's something I've been speaking about recently, and it's the fact that if all of us as human beings and even more as business owners pushed harder and went one step further, we we would achieve more things because we don't persevere enough. We are used to wanting the quick wins because that's what social media and the world show us, that if it's not a quick win, it's not worth it. And if we do things for a certain period and it doesn't work, we should quit because we're wasting our time. So in this case, what I hear is that probably many other people, and probably including myself, have said, if you don't want this, or if you don't want to manufacture this product, I'll find someone else. It will be a painful process to start over, but hey, if it's not a fit, it's not a fit. No biggie, right? But in this case, he said, hey, I will. Everyone talks about educating customers, but in this case, you educated your manufacturer, and that's very important. You said, hey, no, let's stop. Let's do it. I'm going to show you, understand the why. And there's a very popular and amazing TED talk by Simon Sinek called "Start with Why."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know it, but for those who don't know it, it's basically that every company start with why when they develop products, when they hire people, when they communicate their mission, vision. But like in this case, you started with why. You show them why you wanted to produce this. You don't tell them you should produce this only when you figured that it wasn't going to work. You took care of that, and it worked out. Even if it didn't work out, you tried to go one step further, and now it's been a successful and fruitful relationship of over 10 years.
And I think that also changed the way how I approach my relationship with my clients, with my team, with other vendors, in general with anyone, because that taught me that there is nothing, absolutely nothing obvious. When people said, you're having a conversation and people are, oh, it's obvious. It's not. It's absolutely not obvious. What's obvious for you is not obvious for me. And I think we make a lot of mistakes. Sometimes we break relationships up just because we don't understand where the other person is coming from. And then, so in the case of the factory, it wasn't that the factory was bad, they were not doing their best. Just they didn't understand what I had in my head and in the way how I conceptualize the product.
I think you have that, and correct me if I'm wrong or your thoughts on this, but from what I know you, which is not a lot, of course, I can guess that that mentality comes from your travels, because when you travel, you learn a lot from different cultures, different people, and what's obvious to you, it's nothing like it's not similar at all for them and not obvious to them. Could
You
you
know
relate?
what that mentality come from really? Um, when I was living in New York, even at the beginning, being a mom is or being a parent in general is a shaking experience. As beautiful as it is, it shakes you, right? And then I was looking at my daughter, and at some point I said, "Oh, that behavior is nothing to do with you. It had something to do with me." And then I realized, like, oh, I need to work here. So I started going to meditation to a Zen center. And then one of the first lessons that I learned, it was about the beginner's mind. And I applied that. I need to live my life with the beginner's mind in all aspects. And then it's like, I don't know it all. People don't know it all. And then that removes so much weight. Anyway.
Yeah.
But traveling, yes, for sure. Traveling, you have to have actually a beginner's mind, because you go to another place, you're just learning.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, I love that. So let's change topics for another, like for a few minutes. I would love to talk about the role that influencers and social media play growth. So could you please talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So I think before, probably influencers were a big thing. And at the time when I launched, I think I didn't know what really uh, influencers were. But um, for us, it has been very organic, um, because people try the product, they love it, and they have shared it. And then we have influencers, for instance, that wear our product that have 1 million followers. We don't pay 1 cent to those influencers. Or maybe just the discount code that they have, or, a commission, but they do it because they just love our product and our values. And it's amazing. I had, for instance, the case of this influencer that was contacted by one of our competitors, and one of our competitors also have a line of clothing. And then so she was getting paid, to really wear the line of clothing, and with that were their grape socks. And so I sent her a message and said, "Hey, I noticed you are leaving us." And she kind of explained, "No, I mean, it's the whole package. So I need to wear the socks, blah, blah. And I was like, "It's okay, we're here. And then thank you for everything that you have done. And we understand if you cannot wear our socks anymore." A couple of months later, she texted me saying, "Paola, I just signed a new agreement with them. And then I agreed that I was going to wear everything of their brand except their socks, because I just love so much your socks." And she has 1 million followers. Then so I think there are different types of influencers, right? Like there are the influencers that, you pay, they wear your product because you either are paying or etc. But there are the influencers that are really connected to your brand. I have the case, for instance, of someone that found us on Amazon and then contacted us on Instagram. It's like, hey, I would love to become an influencer for you, and to get a discount code and some commission because I'm wearing your socks, and all the time my followers are asking me about your socks. And then I was like, oh wow. And I love when people come to us because they just love our product and love what we do. And then this is a woman that works out with her mom. She's 65 and the mom is 85, and they're both wearing Tucketts. And
Wow.
for me, this is just amazing. And again, and then now she became one of our top influencers, and that comes out organically, like out of passion.
Is that how you get most influencers? Like do they approach you?
Yeah. I mean, now in the last probably year or two, we started to approach influencers, especially to also get nice content, etc., etc. But actually, most of our influencers are clients, people that they genuinely bought the socks or found us on Amazon, and then when they start tagging us, and then we're like, oh my goodness, and then we have made like a good bunch of them that don't expect anything, apart from we just love your socks, we love your brand, and we love what you're doing.
Yeah, we see so many things online, and they make us believe that we need to do things as they say, otherwise it won't work, right? And UGC, user generated content, is not AGC, which is actor generated content. It comes from real users, real consumers, right? But hey, everyone is telling us now in 2025 that if we don't test 100 creatives a week, we don't know what we're doing, right? But actually, the best brands I know, and I interviewed or work at the agency, the the current staff of creators that they work with, stable staff of creators mainly, it comes from clients like BattleBox. BattleBox, I had the pleasure of interviewing John Roman, the founder. BattleBox is an amazing brand. They have, I don't know how million followers across platforms. They have their own TV show on Netflix. They did a, I don't know, reality show lately. They are an amazing brand. And Brandon, the long beard guy we see everywhere, is a full-time creator. But it wasn't that way in the beginning. They discovered that by accident because
Mhm.
they were saying, hey, many people are coming and saying that they came from through Brandon because back then they had a pre-purchase survey back then, not now. And everyone was saying that they came, referred by this guy. So they started, analyzing this guy, and the guy was a customer who was buying the products, not telling the brand anything, and recording videos about the brand because he truly loved the products.
Mhm.
So they spotted that and said, Brandon, we should start doing something together. So no need for you to pay the products anymore. We'll send the products. And that the relationship evolved to a full-time position, over the years. And they moved him and his family to the headquarters, state and city, of course. And that's how I believe that influencer marketing should be. Of course, not everyone is going to be a super fan of your product, but you should have like, if your customers are those spreading the word about you, that's worth 1,000 creators.
Yeah, totally. And I think, I mean, there is nothing wrong in looking for people that are outside of your pool of clients, discover the products, and actually they're, I mean, great content creators. But there is something very special when it comes genuine, when you don't have to pay, when it's just people are telling you,
People can tell that it's not.
yeah, what you did, and I'm wearing it because this is really, really good. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 100%. I wanted to ask you one quick question, and it's about a book. If you have a favorite book that, or a book you love and you would like to share with the audience. Do you have any that comes to mind?
I have many, but I'm actually reading this book that I'm almost about to finish. Like, highly recommended. It's called Playground by Richard Powers. He wrote another best-selling book, and he's a winner of the Pulitzer Prize. But I think everyone today, and especially in the political context that we are today, we should read this book, because it will make us understand really the role that us humans have on Earth. And this book is very interesting. It has a very interesting storyline. It's the type of book that you don't want to put down. It's a story or multiple stories. You can also travel with this book to remote places that probably you wouldn't go. But I think everyone should really understand a bit more our role as humans with Mother Earth. Yeah. And then one of the reasons also, I mean, it's just coincidence, but this is called the Moab Collection, the collection that we're launching today. And it's about, hey, go out and just enjoy the beautiful national parks here in the US. And then for me, it's like, yes, go out, enjoy them, and help to protect them, really value them. Because when we value what we have here in the US in terms of national parks, we wouldn't like to damage them. Anyway.
Before we go, could you please tell, those in the audience where they can go to learn more about you and Tucketts?
Yeah, sure. So our website is Tucketts.com. So it's Tucketts.com. And then you can also find that on Instagram or social media with @LoveTucketts. So LOVE and then Tucketts, TUCKETTS. And if you want to connect with me on Instagram, on LinkedIn, I'm also there, Paola Shah.
Amazing. So for everyone listening to this or watching, first off, thank you. Second, if you like the episode, please like it if you're watching on YouTube, or leave us a review if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcast. And if you go to the DTCinsider.com, you will find the show notes for the episode, including the book she mentioned and the social handles, and of course the website as well. Paola, it was great having you here on the podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, for the invitation, and then probably see you soon.
See you.
This episode was brought to you by BSR Digital. We help DTC brands grow through paid ads and email marketing campaigns. If you'd like us to help your business grow, head on over to bsrdigital.com and schedule a call with us.